When I was learning to seduct and I was learning to manipulate conversation, I was learning to be able to talk to anyone, communicate with people who are more powerful than me on the hierarchy and richer than me or more successful than me and just overall more successful people. When learning to communicate with them or even women or anybody that I cared to be in dialogue with, I learned that the way to do it is to let them talk about themselves. The way you do that is to ask questions and to base the conversation off them. People love talking about themselves. People will faintly listen to what you have to say if it's about anything but something that will relate back to them. You can talk about cars, and if you bring up cars that they like, they'll join the conversation because they can tell you how much they know about those cars. They can tell you how much knowledge they have about those cars. If a guy's super into European sports cars and you start talking about JDM classics and he has no clue, he's gonna fuck off out of that conversation. He's not gonna give a fuck. Why would he care about that conversation? He's not gonna care. But if you start talking about European supercars, he's gonna flex his knowledge on you, and he's gonna want to flex his knowledge on you because it makes him think that you think he's smarter. The best way to manipulate someone is by making them feel better around you. That's when they start wanting to talk to you more and more. So this girl goes out with two guys, right? Let's call them Jeff and Steve. She goes out with Jeff and she says, I went out with Jeff and the way that he talked and carried himself made me think that Jeff was the smartest guy in the world. And she goes out with Steve and she said, I went out with Steve and the way that he talked and asked questions made me think I'm the smartest woman in the world. Who do you think she's gonna chill with again? She's not gonna chill with Jeff again. She's gonna fucking chill with Steve because Steve made her feel like the smartest woman in the world. Steve made her feel special. Steve made her talk about herself in a way that illuminates her, makes her feel like the brightest and most dominant person in the world. You have to be the Steve. You have to get people to talk about themselves. You have to let people portray themselves in their highest form in conversation with you because they'll relate you to that happiness they have of their higher self. If I vision myself here and you're the person that I can portray this version of myself to, I'm gonna keep wanting to hang out with you because I can be this around you. But one thing that confused me is why is it that people love talking about themselves but they hate talking to themselves? I fucking love having conversations with myself. I spend morning, afternoons, and nights, and I spend 90% of my day running sequences through my mind, running conversations through my mind, running things that I say through my mind, the way I say things through my mind. I have so many conversations with myself. I have so many conversations with myself in so many different ways of dialogue that when I finally come to have an actual conversation with someone else, I've done it 100 times. I know how I'm going to speak to them. I know how I'm going to carry myself. I know how I'm going to portray myself. Before I go on a date with a girl, I will rehearse the entire date in my mind of how I will carry myself before I even go. How I'll say hi to her in the car, how I'll carry myself. It's not like I'm insecure or I'm a loser because I'm so scared of the reaction. I just know that my best possible chance in any confrontation, any piece of dialogue is to be prepared. You have to be prepared for any situation. You have to keep conversations with yourself. When you conversate with yourself, it's like you're doing reps in the gym. You're doing over and over and over. You're having so many conversations with yourself that by the end of it, you've done so many sets and so many reps that you're like the strongest when it comes to conversation. You're the strongest when it comes to knowing yourself and knowing what to talk about and knowing what interests people and what interests yourself and how to talk and how to grasp attention. You have to almost fool people into thinking that you're talking about something special and that something special is themselves.